Good Times viewers, Judy Shields here. Today we welcome country artist and songwriter Anthony Bonnette, who released his latest song and video, Lion Tamer, on March 22nd. Hey there, Anthony, how you doing?
Judy, how are you?
Oh, I've been wanting to hear that voice. I mean, just hearing your song and that video and that voice, I said, I can't wait to interview him just to hear him talk. You got an amazing voice.
Well, the tendency, people always say that, and the tendency is for me to kind of accentuate that a little bit when they say that, kind of sound like the Allstate guy, but, it's not that deep. So it's more of a singing voice than a speaking one.
I have to ask, is that your studio behind you? I mean, what is all those banjos and
Well,
guitars?
we had a little YouTube channel where I just kind of played covers, and during COVID we got bored like everybody else, so we hung all my guitars behind me and banjos and all the stuff that I pretend to play. I'm not a great musician. I'm more of a singer than anything. So,
Well,
but I
that's
like the
impressive.
sounds they all make.
Yeah, I love banjos. I really do.
My
Really
wife,
do.
she might disagree with you.
Tell us a little bit about the title, Lion Tamer. Where'd that come from?
Well, it just kind of came out of a way of thinking. I was thinking about how it is to be a like an alpha male kind of personality, which I'm not, but I know some. I'm kind of laid back, but I know some friends of mine are really tough dudes and fighters, and but then when the dynamic between them and their little soft spoken ladies, it totally changes them. And so I started thinking about them in the context of being the king of the jungle, but then your lady being a lion tamer, and that is the coolest concept to me.
Yeah, the song is so well written and it plays well. You also released a cinematic music video for the song. Tell us about the creative process and how you came up with the concept.
Well, the concept is just kind of based in the lyrics of the song. Part of you kind of thinks there'll be a lion in the video, but we didn't have the budget for that. So the next best thing I thought was kind of a cowboy, working and there it doesn't get much more manly than that. But then cowgirls are pretty tough too.
Yeah.
But the dynamic between a tough guy like that, a cowboy, and so we were looking for venues just for landscape, and
Yeah.
we found this venue, and we went out. It's a working ranch, and we made fast friends with the owners of the ranch, Monty and Alice. It's Cerrito Lodge is the name of the ranch, and it's been in their family forever since the turn of the last century, and they were so perfect right from the beginning. I thought that these would be great folks in the video, and they really turned out to be
So
fun. They're friends now. I think.
so that's who we're starting it. This people you're talking about.
People, yeah, it's their ranch. So I mean, and that's we stayed out there with them all day, just kind of filming what one of their days would look like. It was really a lot of fun. It was really an insight for me, who I'm not a cowboy. I have a lot of respect for those people, but that's never been me. We never had enough land to have a cow.
Yeah, it came across really well. You would think that they're like, actors and all this was done. It was done beautifully, actually.
Yeah, they really were photogenic people, and really authentic. I think that's what comes across in the video.
Yeah.
Is how authentic, how they're not acting, and maybe that's why it seems like they're great actors, because they're just
They're
playing
being
them.
natural.
Exactly.
So how easy or difficult is it for you to write a love song?
Well, love songs are when I'll say when I grew up writing songs, and by grow up, I mean I started writing when I was in my late teens, when I played the piano a little bit, and so I started trying to write songs. Love songs were all I knew to write. That's what all the great songs are about. So I started trying to write love songs. You don't know that when you're young, but you don't really know anything about love. So I was writing songs that were similar to other love songs that I'd heard, kind of like copies of those songs in a sense, at least conceptually. But when you get, I won't say I'm old, but when you get I've got a few gray hairs, more and more every day. And you kind of get some insight on what it's like to be in a relationship with another person, the give and take, and there are nuances, and everybody's relationship has nuances that are specific to them. So it's pretty neat for me to write as a grown up, as opposed to somebody who had no idea what they were writing about.
Is there a certain time of the day that you sit down and write a song?
I used to try to schedule a time of day where I would just come to this room, set up my little easel, and get a guitar and just kind of noodle. And that was pretty productive. I wrote quite a few songs, but it's hard for a person like me to stick to. So then it ended up being me wasting a lot of time. So really, I only write when it strikes. And I watched a documentary about Guy Clark. He said his main advice, and I would echo that, is to, when you have an idea, don't make sure you write it down, because you'll forget it in 5 minutes. The thing about it that makes it magic, it's a funny thing to write to think you write an original song, but there's so many tiny little facets of it that make it original. Yeah. That make it special. And so, it's so easy to forget those.
Oh, I bet. When did you discover your cool sounding voice?
Well, I grew up singing in church. With my mother's a piano player and my dad's a singer, and so they kind of led the worship at the small Pentecostal church we went to. So there was, at its max, there were maybe 50 people that would be there on Sunday morning, usually 30-ish. So it wasn't a big church, but what that allowed for is a special song. And if you grow up in a church like that, what a special song is. It's you getting to do a performance kind of song and not a sing-along. So with Mom playing the piano, I would sing a lot of special songs. I sang at my kindergarten graduation, and so I sang. But as you might expect, I didn't really have my voice was different then. I actually sang high harmony notes in our family. I have 3 younger brothers, and at a certain point, we would all sing together. And I would sing the highest harmony spot. But sometime around 13 or 14, all of a sudden, one day, I'd switched to singing the bass notes. And so it just kind of happened all at once. And, people generally said they liked the way I sang. So, I started liking it too.
Yep, we do. That's for sure. Was the guitar the first instrument you learned to play? And how old were you when you got your first one?
Well, piano, my mother plays piano, and my dad plays a little guitar and some piano. And so we're musical people. I have uncles that play. All my mother's siblings play piano, and then other stuff too, banjo, mandolin, guitar. I played piano. There was a piano in the house, so Mom would give me piano lessons. And so I learned that first, and I never really learned anything past what it took to play and sing a song. So it was all kind of based around singing and songs for me. I wish I was a better guitar player, but that isn't borne out in the way I spend my time. But yeah, I got my first guitar. I've got my first guitar when I was 19. And like I say, I wish I had taken a lesson. Starting with a lesson would really be a smart thing to do, and taking a lesson every so often. But yeah, I never did. I just learned chords and wrote songs, and that was it. It was that's all I've ever done since.
I guess that's what you need in writing songs, is just to learn, I guess, some chords, right? What goes along with that.
That's really it. And especially with a capo, if you've got a guitar and a capo, which kind of just raises the pitch a little bit, you can play kind of all the chords. And so, I learned pretty quick that just the G and the C and the D and the E minor, and you just build from there. And I've had a good ear for music growing up with music in the house. You learn to have a good ear, and you learn to sing harmony. So you have a good framework for writing songs, especially because I remember song lyrics from songs that I hadn't heard for 20 years, and sometimes they just come up, and so they're in there. So the structure of my brain is really good for writing songs. It's not so good for the real world. I have not a great memory when it comes to most things, but songs, it's a different story.
So you were let our viewers know, what is a capo?
Oh, let's see if I've got one in here. Capo, here's one right here. So capo is this little guy right here.
Oh.
And it clips onto the guitar around the strings, and it raises the pitch of all the strings together. So when I'm playing a chord or a set of strings, if I'm playing a G chord and I want to sing the song in a higher key, if it's a little too low for me to sing, then I put the capo on, and I can sing it in A if I put it on the second fret and on up. So it's really handy for somebody who's not a great guitar player. You just kind of can move that pitch up and just still know those few chords, especially when you're starting out.
Oh, I'll have to. I got myself a guitar, Yamaha, and I want to sort of teach myself. So now I'm going to have to go out and get a capo.
That's super exciting. You can get them for pretty inexpensively. I like these Kaiser capos. They're Texas-based capos. And I had a friend that was telling a story. My friend Ramey Moore, the old-time fiddle player, he was telling me a story about the guy that made these. My assumption is his name is Mr. Kaiser, but he said he cut it out of a piece of aluminum that was a gutter on a house, and you can kind of see how that might.
I see that. Yeah, it's
So
cool looking, actually.
It is. Yeah, they're pretty neat, and they're surprisingly inexpensive. They're $20 or so.
What was your childhood like growing up in Lone Star, Texas? That's like got to be a great city.
Well, actually Lone Star is kind of a ghost town at this point. Lone Star Steel was the steel mill that was there. I was born in Lone Star, but we lived most of my childhood in between Ore City and Lone Star, which is maybe 5 miles south. So we grew up on Lake of the Pines, which is a man-made lake. It used to be a river. It used to be the Big Cypress River, I think. But it used to, and they dammed it up and made it a lake. And so we grew up there. It's really muddy. It's kind of swampy. There's myths that there are alligators there.
Wow.
I've never seen it. My grandpa swears he's seen them, but I've never seen them. Of course, he spent a lot more time on that lake than I have. He's probably out there right now.
That'd be scary. Oh.
It was a happy childhood. We grew up kind of in a small neighborhood where my grandparents lived. I had three sets of my dad's siblings lived there with their families. So in a small little circle neighborhood called Camp Joy. It's a really family kind of place, and even people that weren't family, they turn into family pretty quick. Proximity kind of does that. And we have holidays there. We had Easter just recently, and it was all my family was there. I mean, they still live close, and they all come for holidays. There's tons of kids always there. So it's a lot of fun. My grandparents are still living, my dad's parents. So they all still come around.
There's nothing like family, no matter what we do in life.
It was a sweet childhood. We were pretty strictly raised as far as morality and religion and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also happy. You hear a lot of horror stories about being raised strictly religious in the same way that I was. But my people are happy people and a joyous people. So I grew up more like that, with, I can still sing "I'll Fly Away," and it
Oh,
doesn't it doesn't hurt my heart. It kind of takes me back to singing in church with all
yeah.
those people. Our church was in the same neighborhood, so we didn't leave for much.
Wow. That's the way a childhood should be. Sounds like a good one.
It's pretty idyllic. I think so.
So, if you had a chance to sing with a country music hero, who would that be?
To sing with a country music hero.
Yeah.
That's a good
Still here
question.
on this earth or in heaven, who would it be?
I think I would say Don Williams. Don Williams is probably my favorite.
Yeah, good
I
one.
love the sound of his voice, and I also love the way his band was. It was he had an electric guitar in the band, but it was still kind of an acoustic based thing. He still mic'd him really intimately, so he wasn't having to sing out and wasn't having to project. He was really sweet and soft with his singing. So I would probably say Don Way. He's my guy.
That's a good answer. Do you
Mhm.
have someone who influenced you to go into the music business?
Well, not anybody in particular. Music has always been the thing that I do in my time. And I've also come from working people. So I mean, my dad's a bricklayer. His dad's a bricklayer. So I grew up a bricklayer. I grew up out there in the summers during school, and then after school, I started doing it. And so did that until in my mid 20s or so. It's hard work, and so when you grow up as a working person, that's kind of built into you, where the trade you make is, I perform this amount of work and it's valuable to you and you pay me. So it's kind of been a transition, and a transition that's still happening for me to get away from that and to get to the point where I don't think about money. And I mean, money is a transactional kind of thing, but to think of music as something that has value enough where somebody might be willing to pay me for that. So it's a hard thing to do. I've always felt about music like it's a gift, and that it's a thing that should be given. But I can also see where it's valuable to the world, and that it has. So the music business, a lot of people, including me, have a lot of hard feelings against the music business. But I'm think I'm growing out of that a little bit. Maybe I'm getting past my being such an ideologue when it comes to that. Hopefully so.
That's actually a great answer. For performing on a stage, like at a fair or like in a big arena?
Well, I like both, and so between the stage and between the fair and the big arena, it's quite a bit more intimate. I like being able to see the people I'm playing for, and the bigger venues, you can see the first couple rows, and then everything else is just kind of dark. All you see is the spotlight. So I play banjo, so I I like bluegrass music. I play it well enough to sit in a jam kind of session. That's what you do if you're a bluegrass player. You jam. So, and that's fun for me, and I've done a lot of that, and song polls and stuff like that with people. So I'm used to playing a song and then getting the response from another individual. So the more intimate, I think, the better for me.
Yep.
Now, I will also say it depends on the paycheck.
Good answer. That's an honest answer. So do you remember the first album you ever bought?
The first album I remember buying was a James Taylor Greatest Hits album. I didn't even know who he was, but it looked like country music, it turns out it kind of was California, Carolina country, one of those. I think he's from North Carolina, but it's still one of my top 5 favorite albums. That just
Great.
in my mind, I'm
Oh,
gone to Carolina.
good
It had
stuff.
what's that? Do me wrong, don't let me be lonely tonight.
Oh,
That's such a great song, and it's amazing what he was able to do with an acoustic guitar.
yeah, he made that sing, didn't he?
He really did, and the sound of his voice too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like mine, but it was all him. Like it's all his. He has his own way of saying the words, and his own. It's really an amazing album, and he's one of my favorites.
How about the first concert you ever attended?
I think, like I say, we grew up super Christian. I think we went to an Amy Grant concert
Oh man.
that was a free kind of concert, but she was only doing her gospel kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and which was really, in my opinion, maybe the greatest Christian contemporary music that was ever made. You know, I haven't listened to a lot since
Yeah.
my childhood, but it's so sweet that she was so good.
Yeah, she's got an angelic voice.
Mhm.
Do you have a certain venue that's on your bucket list to perform at?
A certain venue. Well, I always wanted to play on the Ryman stage.
Oh,
We've been there a couple times, and just the smell and the spirit of that place it's really a neat place. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I have. I was there
that,
at 12 years old and saw Marty Robbins.
wow, that's pretty neat.
Yes.
That's a good story. So I don't know if you've ever had your nose in the sound hole of a Martin guitar, but
Yep.
there's a similar smell inside a Martin guitar because all that wood in there, and that Martin guitar is just all that wood that's just kind of vibrating. And so the Ryman kind of has the same feel as the inside of an old guitar to me. It's a
Well,
great
that's
place.
an amazing way of choice of words. That's why you're a songwriter. That's great.
Really true.
I'm gonna go to
The next
music
time you're
stores and
around,
smelling guitars. They're gonna go, what is wrong with that woman over there?
I will say Martins smell like no other guitar. They have, especially if they're a few years old,
Yeah.
they start having a smell about them. It's and not in a bad way, in a really good way.
Oh, so back to being on the road. Do you have a must-have on the road? What's something you have to have when you go out on the road?
Well, I have to have copious amounts of water. I drink so much water.
Good for you.
Yeah, like I've drank many, and I'm trying to not drink bottles of water. I'm trying to drink it out of a
Yeah,
cup, so I can.
we all use those cups that we put.
Right? Yeah,
Yep.
you got a Starbucks cup.
Yeah, that was Disney. I had to get it at Disney, Disneyland.
But yeah, I did a lot of water, and I like mints too, Altoids and
Nice.
Bucky's mints, and But I'm not very high maintenance. I've seen a lot of writers from the little contract that states what an artist is going to need. I've seen some of those, and I don't really have any. I don't really have anything that I don't need a half gallon of Jack Daniels in my dressing room.
Well, there
So,
we go. What color M&Ms do you have to have?
yeah, exactly. I don't need any
Right.
of that. I'm all picked out. Now I will eat a whole bag of peanut butter
Oh,
M&Ms.
yes. Those are just wonderful, aren't they? So let's talk about your upcoming tour. What's going on?
Well, we're kind of getting some things together. Hopefully we're going up north in 2025. 2024 is pretty solidly booked around Texas,
Mhm.
but hopefully we've got some things on the horizon that's festival based and kind of up
Nice.
in some different cities up north. So we're super excited about that. And what I'm always surprised about is how I wouldn't necessarily call my music Texas music, but how well how that music has really traveled, and Texas based music, like red dirt music, whatever they call it. Like
Yeah.
kind of everywhere now. You know, it goes all the way up to Canada, and you know, that Culture Wall and all those people. They're not from here, but they play red dirt kind of music. So I think it's a sound that translates, and hopefully my stuff will do that as well.
How about your social media? How can we find you out there?
I'm at anthonybonnette.com. That's with the www in front of it. And so all of my links are there. There's Spotify and Pandora and YouTube. We're trying to do more and more YouTube kind of stuff. I mean, it's gotten to where that's all I watch is YouTube. So and so we want to be present there as well. So just that's where you find us, is at anthonybonnette.com, and you can find the newest releases, and you can find all our Spotify links and that kind of stuff.
So with the new one that just was released last month, it's like already today, April Fool's today.
I know it is April Fool's.
Can you believe it's April Fool's? So are you working on some current stuff coming up? You got another?
I am. We're in the studio doing. We've got 3 more to be released this year, so they're kind of a progressive kind of recording.
Yeah.
So the studio is just a few miles down from my house. My friend Chad Mauldin at Mauldin Productions, he's the one that does all of it. So, and him being so close, and him being sort of a family friend, you know, we're just kind of progressively recording them and bringing them out, and so that helps us too. We don't have to be in with a record company to kind of get all our music out there. So I can, yeah, we like that. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I would sign with RCA if
Yeah. There you go. Why not?
Why not? But in lieu of that, this is kind of a fun way to do it. So I think we've got 3 more, and then we've got 5 more in 2025 that are kind of in the process of coming out. It's strange how music has changed. You know, it was so album based, and now it's really not. Now the album, you know, if you printed up 100 albums, 100 CD albums, you know, you'd probably be stuck with a lot of those.
Yeah, and then they have the EPs now, you know, and it's like
exactly
dealing with that. It's like, oh, what about cassettes? What's that? You know, and at least a lot of artists are going back to vinyl. I love that we can get vinyl.
Yeah, I like that. And that actually does have a sound of its own. That colors the sound a little bit, and
it does.
Yeah, I like vinyl for sure.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, Anthony, to talk with us here at the Hollywood Times, and we will be putting this up on our YouTube channel, the Hollywood Times Officials. And thank you again, and great music, great video, folks. We got to get that link out there so that people can purchase your music and look at this video. It's pretty awesome.
Judy, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, and you stop back by and visit with us again when you got some new stuff coming out, okay?
We'll do it.